Welcome once again to Lehto's Law. Here's Steve Lehto.
Quite often at the ends of videos, I say if anything happens, updates, etc., I will update you. Quite often viewers catch the updates before I do because the viewers are scattered about the globe watching for this stuff. Thank you very much to Jason for pointing out an update to the story. The headline from the Sacramento Bee: California deputy accused of tossing urine test proving woman is innocent gets prison. Don Sweeney wrote the story. I did a video about this, posted it back in November. I will put a link to that video below because it goes in a little more detail I'm going to give you today because I know some of you will remember the story. But the former California sheriff's deputy was convicted of tossing a woman's urine test after it turned up negative for drugs, and he will now serve a year in prison. That's according to authorities. The man's 29 years old. He pleaded guilty. So once in a while, people watch my videos and go, Steve, I don't think the guy did it. I don't think he did it. Well, this guy pleaded guilty to it, okay? So I'm going to say he did it. Yes, just call me crazy. He pleaded guilty to destroying physical matter. And I suspect there's probably a longer name for that because generally speaking, you can destroy something without getting in trouble. It's evidence that you can't destroy. Or if you're a law enforcement officer, anything that might relate to a case. And I'm not sure if there's other categories. If we did a big Venn diagram of matter and then, things that are important to a case, things that are evidence. But simply destroying physical matter sounds a little bit less detailed than necessary. The Ventura County District Attorney's Office said this in a news release. The man will spend a year in prison. He will go to prison for 1 year. And I know that that's one of the biggest complaints that people have. And I agree with this. You often hear about the police doing something wrong. That makes the news. And then you never hear about it after that. And you go, what happened? And if you followed up on it, you discover that, it was taken care of internally. And the guy or gal lost some points on some process thing. So now it'll take him a couple of weeks longer to make the next grade of, promotion or whatever. And so the concern always is that there's a lot of noise and smoke at the beginning of something. And it peters out and disappears and nothing ever happens after that. So here the man is going to prison for a year. He's going to do 1 year in prison. After that, he'll be on parole for 2 years. And that has all come down from the judge who sentenced the man after he pleaded guilty. What happened originally was in November of 2019, so this goes back to before COVID, and he pulled her over and believed she was driving under the influence. At least that's what he told her. So another deputy was involved in the story on some level, and apparently the other deputy thought, I think she is acting funny. I wouldn't be surprised if she's under the influence. But there was a bit of back and forth between the first deputy, the one who's going to prison for a year, and the woman he pulled over. And during that exchange, he said to her, if you will take a drug test and you pass it, he goes, I'll drive you back to your car and I'll apologize to you. So she thought to herself, well, I haven't taken any drugs. Why not? So she took the test and then, weirdly, she got locked up. Now, she knows she hasn't got any drugs in her system. She took the test and the guy never showed her the results of the test. She just gets locked up. And she hears someone say, well, yeah, she got locked up for refusing to take a drug test when in fact she took one. So the woman denied using the drugs, but she agreed to take the test if the officer would apologize and drive her back to her vehicle if it was negative. But that was, I believe, his offer to her, not what she said to him. I believe she said that he told me, if you take it and pass, I'll apologize and drive you back to your car. That's what it'll do. So at the station, he tested the woman for drugs. It came back negative. So he threw the test in a trash can. He told a supervisor she had refused to be tested and arranged for her to be taken to jail. So she told another deputy, what are you talking about? I took a test. How did that come out? So that deputy went and, God bless him, dug through the trash and found the discarded test, which showed that she was drug-free. He notified his supervisors, according to the prosecutors. She then provided a second test, which tested negative, just like the first test. The investigation found that the deputy, who's going to prison now, never administered the evaluation for narcotics, as he had claimed in a report. So apparently in his report, he said she refused the test, but I did some other kind of evaluation on her, which shows that she's on drugs. And in reality, he gave her a test, she passed it, he threw the test away, and then lied about it. So there's a whole bunch of stuff going on here. And some people are bound to say, and I'll agree with them, that this guy managed to just plead guilty to one thing there. One thing, for which he's only getting a year in prison, 2 years probation. And it sounds like he did a bunch of other stuff. Like he filed a false report. And I'm pretty certain that police officers, when they file a false report that they have signed, I believe it's the equivalent of perjury. Because I know that, for instance, if I sign something and I file it with a court because I'm an attorney, they hold me to a higher standard. It doesn't have to say under penalty of perjury or I swear and affirm. It's just my signature. And if you look at the rules of ethics for attorneys, it says if you sign it and submit it to a court, you are, in essence, swearing that that statement is true. So he filed a police report that said that she refused to take the test and I gave her some other kind of screen, which he didn't. So he filed a false report. Now, he did destroy the evidence or the physical matter, which is what he was charged with. And yeah, they got him for that. But when you look at the grand scheme of things, okay, the filing of the false report, in my mind, is as bad, if not worse, than destroying the evidence. Because, there's only so much evidence on any given case, but the report is presumably what people look at. And the report has this influence on the case because every single person that touches that case down the road, other cops, prosecutors, defense attorneys, courts, when they read that report, they're going to rely upon that report. And so that false statement, she refused the test or I gave her another screen or whatever, those false statements are going to go along with this case, would have gone along with this case, and affected it at every turn. So it's a very serious problem if the police can file false reports and get away with it. And now this guy's not getting away with it entirely. He is going to prison for a year. And I suspect that they could have charged him with more than this and taken him to trial and taken their chances in front of a jury. But I suspect they said, look, dude, plead guilty to this one and we'll drop the other possible charges we could bring against you. So he's going to go to prison for a year. He's going to serve 2 years of parole. And I suspect that conviction will end his legal career as a law enforcement officer. Because I know, generally speaking, when you apply for jobs like that, they do background checks. And I know a lot of times police get in trouble in one jurisdiction, and they get in trouble there, and they resign, and they pop up in another jurisdiction. Next thing you know, they've gotten in trouble over here, they resign, they pop up over here. It's like whack-a-mole. But there's a difference there, because they aren't getting convicted of crimes in each spot. They're often resigning and skedaddling before they get convicted, before they even get charged. And a lot of times they go, just let him go. So here the guy has been sentenced. He will serve a year in prison, 2 years of parole. And like I said, I suspect that's the end of his career, which is a good thing, because you do not want officers, deputies, filing false reports and destroying evidence and putting people in jail who clearly didn't do what they're accused of doing. So, like I said, I'll put a link to the original video below. But again, Jason, thanks for updating me. From the Sacramento Bee, Don Sweeney wrote it. California deputy accused of tossing urine test, which proved woman was innocent, gets prison time. Questions or comments? Put them below. Let's talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching Lehto's Law. Did you hear about the guy who stole a Lehto's Law calendar? He got 12 months.